Hey, welcome to Up Shifts Creek. We are so glad you found us here. My name is Jana. I am a former pastor and relationship coach of 25 years, turned creative entrepreneur and doing this work here and unpacking the wild ride along the way. I was joined by some lovely ladies and we wanted to resurrect that medicine, and I got the privilege of dissecting every little bit and piecing it all back together and learning editing in the process. Welcome to the episodes before the podcast. The long hours and energy and heart that was put into this work. I'm so honored to bring this work to life so that you guys are back to life so that you guys can enjoy it. Some of us started this work back in 2024 and then it went away late last year. So this is a dissected and pieced back together work of art, a stained glass window, if you will. We reflect on that in our wrap-up sessions. And we have a Wild and Wise season 1 coming soon. So stay tuned, stay connected, stay wild, and stay free. All of our socials and ways to stay connected will be linked in the description. And if you are in a place where you are ready to do some deep dive work, I do have a special place for that, and that is permissiontobe.org, where I hold that space for you. So if you would like to connect there, let's jump on over there. It would be my honor. Enjoy. Even in the church world, in my genre of whatever it was, supposed to be led by the Spirit of God. And well, what does that mean? And how, that was always the question. It was like, well, follow peace. Well, then when you follow, when you find out human design, it's like, God, it's so much more than that. and yeah.
Start out in your own power, or, not your own power, but your superficial willpower. And then you achieve a little bit and then it all falls apart because it's just unsustainable. It's exactly how that oracle card was talking about. Like, we're meant for things that we don't have enough willpower to carry through. So we've got to surrender to this design, this plan, to really allow ourselves to achieve without exhaustion.
Imagine if everybody did understand, like, what would that actually look like for the world? If everybody knew how to communicate to each other in a way that was going to, help the other person.
Yeah, I was thinking
what would that do for mankind?
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, that is exactly what it means to stay in your own lane.
Yeah, things would be easier for everybody, I feel like.
Well, we're all living in this. Well, the manifestors have been the energetic rulers for the past 400 years. And so we've taken on this, just do it, initiate, go after it, because that's the way manifestors were designed. But we've all been conditioned to operate as, a manifestor, and the generators are slaves to it because they're trying to do it in their own power, the power that they don't have. And so if all the types were operating in their right, in their true self, then the dominating energies of the world would be all of the signatures. So for manifestors, it would be peace. For generators, it's satisfaction. For projectors, it's success. For reflectors, it's surprise. What am I afraid? Oh, manifesting generators are, both. But yeah, that's why that's what we would experience, is everybody in their self. And instead, we're still operating in the not self as, majority. And so we're experiencing anger, frustration, bitterness, disappointment. All of those are kind of have been the dominating energy. And I do think there is a shift, because in 2027, the frequency of the earth is literally going to change, and we're going to be going from the motivation of fear to the motivation of innocence. And that's more surrender, and it's more opening and allowing. So that frequency is going to help us shift into that new way of being and out of that dominating fear motivation. It's really just a reflection of what you need to release in yourself. And so that's where going in and figuring out all of the ways you're acting in your not self, and where does, as a generator, frustration come up in your life, to be able to address either you're not believing correctly, you're not thinking correctly, you're not, loving whatever correctly for you. Once you start to shift all of those things, then you're shifting out of that frustration and into your true self, which is satisfaction. You are a pure generator. 5-1, meaning that you do not have the solar plexus defined. And in fact, yours is completely open. You don't even have any gates activated in your solar plexus. All of your undefined centers are completely open. So that just means those 3 open centers that you have no gates in them. And so your solar plexus, your heart or will center, and your head are completely open. So the not self mind, so when you're in your not self, you are avoiding confrontations or being reactive and impulsive with decisions in the now. The wisdom of this center is knowing when it is emotionally healthy to confront or not, being an objective observer of emotions and the emotional climate in others without being driven to make emotional decisions oneself. Your undefined heart center is the wisdom is knowing that one has nothing to prove, knowing who can deliver on a promise and who cannot. So if you're in your not self mind, you're trying to prove your worthiness to oneself and others. So the wisdom of knowing that you have nothing to prove is like the wisdom of the heart center. The wisdom of the heart. And then the head, the not self mind strategy of the head is feeling the pressure to think about and find answers to other people's questions. These are questions that don't necessarily matter to you or your life. So the wisdom of this open center is being able to point out who is inspiring in their thinking and who is confusing. Being able to truly know whether somebody is putting out confusion or inspiration. That's the wisdom of having the open head. So as you decondition from the not self, the wisdom or the gift of the open head is to be able to know who is inspiring and who's confusing, to really see what they base their actions on, what their thinking truly is. One of the things about an open head is if you need ideas, go and sit in a coffee shop and just open up, your intention to see what ideas you bring in, because your thoughts are not you. You're picking them up from something somewhere and they're just passing through. And so if you're wanting to, and so when you go to those places, being able to know the thoughts that come into your head of okay, that's confusing, okay, that's inspiring, and to be able to follow that thought pattern. Just operating incorrect, either with an incorrect person or in an incorrect way. That's all it is. It's not a negative or positive or this person's bad or this person's good. Your profile is a 5-1. This is the heretic investigator. So heretics aren't afraid to express unpopular truths. They have deep curiosity. They're drawn to explore new ideas and seek knowledge. They're revolutionaries, disruptors. They push for progress and change. They're problem solvers. They find creative solutions and they act as a bridge between different perspectives. So the downfall to this is what we're talking about, the pressure, expectation to solve problems. It can be overwhelming. So it's helpful to set boundaries and communicate needs. Develop resilience to opposition. Stay true to your vision. Listen and trust your inner voice and intuition, and do not conform to external pressures and expectations. So the incorrect people, it's going to go real bad for you because you're going to get blamed. So the 5 profile gets projected on more than any other profile, the 5 and the 2. So because you have a 5 and you're conscious, a lot of people are going to project onto you, and they're going to project onto you that you can solve their problem. But if it doesn't feel correct, then it's going to go bad. So being able to really honor and listen to that inner voice and only say yes to people who feel correct for you is going to save you a lot of energy and keep you from feeling that complete burnout and frustration. Like your family needs all of your energy present now, today. You have 6 fucking kids. Like, as I was going through all their charts, I was just like, holy shit, this is a lot. I did. Like, like, all but one are emotional and you're not. So, like, you're going to take in and feel every single one of your kids' emotions. And so the emo ones are going to be, they know they have consistent access to their emotions and they need to ride out their emotional wave. So, like, for you to hold space for all of that is just pretty, like, I think if we saw parenting as less an identity and more of a support structure, we wouldn't take everything so personal. When you're like, if you get emotionally caught up with your child and then you have to switch, then it's like a part of you, because you're emotionally giving to this situation. And so it's like you have to pull the emotion back and then refocus and then do it with. So, like, the more you can stay separate from the identity of parent, then the more flexible and adaptable you can be, because you're just literally just, okay, I'm just looking through a different perspective, a different lens for this child, different lens for this child. Instead of being the lens, you're just looking through the lens.
You're just holding the space and not getting invested emotionally. Like, I used to get really offended. I parented Shaylee a little more like it's like I didn't want her to do wrong because then, it's gonna reflect on my parenting. Which one of my mentors was so sweet one time. I was like, I never did. I didn't have near the nurturing and, all that I was so intentional with my kids. And she looked at me and she said, honey, Shaylee's not you. And I was like, I know, that's what I'm saying. And she goes, and that's what I'm saying. And then I don't think it was till, that kind of sunk in. But then, when Jennifer and I became friends, it was like, oh, her journey is her journey. And she would say things like, it's excruciating to watch people go through, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, because I've been rescuing and helping, in that position as pastor for 25 years, then, as a mama bear and, so I totally get it where you have that heart where you want to help, but it's like you're trying to force feed wisdom and they're just not ready for it sometimes. So their journey just needs to be their journey. And it does help whenever you're like, oh, well, dude, if I could go back and parent my kids the way that I am now, I'd be like, the cops are here, take them away, I guess. I don't know, shit. I would have relaxed so much more.
She's a 2-4, so she's the hermit opportunist. So unconsciously, relationships are her deepest connection to life. Her relationships are very important. So when you take a relationship or opportunity to be in relationship away from her, it hurts her at her core. So finding punishment that doesn't make her feel hurt in her core, maybe like a possession or just like take away some sort of privilege, but don't, like, I'm not telling you how to parent, but projectors are the leaders. It's shifting from manifestors to projectors. And so it's almost like she never forgot that she was a leader and she was going to do whatever she wanted to do.
Yeah, you can identify like when you're like a minority archetype, it's like you can almost spot them. Like I can almost when I'm around a projector or another manifester, I can kind of feel out everybody now, but when I'm around another projector, I'm like, oh yeah, well, if they're really like aligned or, their energy is so delicious for me to be in because I don't have to struggle to be seen. I just go, oh, I could just relax because I don't have to explain myself.
Because I'm amplifying your energy and it feels good to acknowledge that and to receive it. The 2-4, there's emphasis on individual process and natural ability to recognize potential in others. They are introspective and perceptive. They possess innate talents that need to be called out to share with the world. They thrive when invited to use their gifts, not initiating. They see unique potential in others. they need to resist the urge to initiate and wait to be recognized, and learn to not take rejection personally.
In other words, to wait for an invitation. Like if they start giving the unsolicited advice, it goes not great.
Yeah, so if they start guiding or directing energy without being invited, then it feels violating to the other person, because uh, a projector's aura comes straight out of their G center into the other person. That's why they can see different. They can see deeply, but why they also have like a lot of perspective, because they can see deeply into other people. And so it feels violating if somebody is seeing deeply into you or guiding you or whatever, because it's a penetrating aura. So it's really important to invite them both into things, into sharing their gifts, first of all, but also invite them into sharing time with you and doing stuff. And then with projectors, they also need to be with you. Like if you told them to clean their room, they would need you to be in there at least with them while they do it, so they can amplify your energy to get it done. Otherwise, it's just like this huge, overwhelming task that they just cannot get going. Your other four all have different profiles. She's a 4-6 emotional generator. So, as a 4-6 with the 4 line, relationships are very important. They're really good at networking. And then the 6 is the role model. So they go through life in 3 different stages. 0 to 30 is the experimental phase. 30 to 50, you go on the roof and you integrate your lessons from the first part of your life. And then at 50, you come off the roof, and that's when you're out there sharing the wisdom from the integration period that you just came out of. So relationships and networking are very important. And then being able to, in this first 30 years, to ask her, what did you learn, instead of focus on the mistake. So it'll be really helpful for her to be encouraged to just acknowledge it was a mistake and what did you learn from it, because she's actually here to make mistakes and to figure out what doesn't work. So it's always an opportunity to learn and never really a mistake. They are natural at networking and connection. They have a life journey focused on wisdom and becoming a role model. They are a strong influence within networks and have a deep understanding of relationships, which leads to meaningful connection. They're known for their ability to evolve through experience, reflection, and embodiment, eventually becoming a wise and grounded role model for others. So, as an emotional generator, she has the sacral life energy. So, she's here to create and to build. And then the emotional authority means that she has to ride out her emotional wave before she can come to clarity. So, supporting her would look like, like informing her, or like letting her know, hey, I think, what are you feeling? Or do you need to process your emotions, by yourself? Or just knowing that for her, she does need to feel all the emotions and let them all come out. And then you just have to hold space for them, however that looks, like by inviting her to be with her while she's emotional, or if she needs alone time. It's you never know with a 4, because sometimes they need that. But as a generator, maybe she doesn't. Just letting her know that she has permission to take space for her emotions before she comes to clarity, and then really letting her get in tune with her gut and her yes no responses. So for all of your generator children, that's going to be the case of like the most important gift that you could give them is to teach them about their authority and their strategy. So letting them know, hey, you are an emotional being, you have consistent access to your emotions, and whenever you are high or low in your emotions, you have to feel it out and let yourself feel it all. And then and that means like maybe you need to sleep on it overnight before you make a big decision, but that you will feel the clarity in your gut with a yes no once you've like processed through those emotions. And like teaching them that they can trust their gut and what that feels like, fostering that feeling. So that would be for all of your emo generators, which is that's a lot to manage, when you have that many kids who are trying to regulate their emotions. Like I know they're not all emotional at the same time, but you probably have at least 3 of them that are, going through something at any given moment. When they do come to you and tell you those things, be like, what did it feel like? And like have him explain what that feeling was in their body, because that they are literally going to feel it in their body. Just asking them yes no questions that don't require thought of like, do you like tacos, do you like horses, do you like dogs, do you like puppies, like, and just letting them feel that yes and no, that push pull without the mind involved, is going to be such a huge gift. What would be helpful to ask them is, what did you feel? Because their actions came from the feeling. And so being able to identify those feelings and be like, hey, next time you start to feel frustration, which is probably the dominant feeling that they have, like once you start to feel frustration, tune into your body and, feel like, am I doing something that's not, am I around somebody that's not right? Am I thinking or believing? I mean, I know these are very complex concepts for children, but being able to communicate in a language that they understand, that kind of concept of like just tuning into their body when they are feeling the emotions, because that's one of the ways they can process it. It's like processing it by feeling it in the body, and then boom, there's the gut answer.
I actually did read that the other day, though. Like somebody was saying that the manifestors are going away, and I was like, who the fuck would think that? We're just evolving and adding to. We needed the projectors to come along and soften us up for damn sure, you know?
We represent a feminine energy, a feminine way of being, because we do have to wait to be invited. And there's so much with like the surrender that goes along with being a projector. I mean, every type has to surrender at some degree, but I think that the way that the shift is happening, it's ushering in a more collaborative and co-creative energy. Instead of this, the manifestor energy is dominant and it is direct, and that's it. It served a purpose. I mean, we look at all the the technologies and everything that came about over the last 400 years, that was from the initiating energy of manifestors. But now we're in a place where like the material world and the that hierarchy is not going to serve us anymore in our evolution. And so that's where the shift in 2027 is going to bring in, it's basically going to force us to be, not force, but because there's no force in feminine energy. But I think what it's going to do is it's like the story of the sun and the wind. It's like the sun, the wind was coming, the wind dominated for a long time, and now the sun's coming in, and just by being allows other people to be. And then then there's more self-awareness, and there's more cooperation and more collaboration and unity and like perspective of, oh, hey, we're here to work together because we're all actually one. So let's just like try this again. And that's what projectors do, is they guide in a collaborative way. Like my motivation is desire, which means that I'm here to lead others to lead themselves. And so that's what we're coming into, is we don't need all these authoritative leaders. We all need to be our own leaders. And so that's like what we're going to be coming into, which is super cool. And so as a parent, to teach your kid, to be in their design allows them to then be that puzzle piece in the future of collaboration. They know who they are. They know how to make decisions for themselves that are correct. They know how to direct their energy so they don't experience burnout, and they experience that satisfaction or success. And that just is like a ripple effect, I think, in consciousness. A 3-5. And this is a tough profile. It's the savior, the general savior. It's the heretic, martyr heretic. So having that 3 line, he is here to make mistakes. He's here to figure out what doesn't work. But also as the 5, like yours, they're problem solvers. They're really great problem solvers. If there's a fire in a building, they're going to be the ones that starts like saying, go here, here's the exit, go there. And so they have to be very careful about making decisions that are correct for them, or otherwise they're going to say yes to things that it's going to blow up in their face and they're going to be blamed for it. And whereas yours is more of a conscious thing, his is unconscious. So unless he has figured out that whole like making decisions for himself correctly, he's more likely to say yes to things that are going to blow up in his face. They are resilient and adaptable. They're drawn to experimentation and learning through experience. They're magnetic and enigmatic presence. They have a magnetic and enigmatic presence. They often face being idealized and then demonized. They're on a relentless quest to answers and a willingness to learn through direct experience. They attract others through their unique insights and perspectives. There's emphasis on self-discovery and personal growth and navigating through trials and challenges to find their true path. Resilience is a key aspect of their profile because they need to be resilient when faced with skepticism and challenges, and they're here to change established norms. Resistance and resilience are probably going to be a theme in his life, or it's going to feel like it. So for him to have the perspective of like, I'm here to figure out what doesn't work, and I'm here to only say yes to people who I feel are correct for me, that my gut tells me that's correct for me. And he will likely need to sleep on that decision, like for big decisions, giving him permission to feel his emotion. And ask them, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling whatever? If they can't like tune into what it is they're feeling, maybe like, are you feeling this? Make it yes or no questions, because if it's not, and it's too much, it's overwhelming. So yeah, just being able to give him space to have emotions, and then to like encourage him to feel through those emotions and not just bottle them up and get to that feeling, that gut feeling. 3-6 emotional generator. 3-6 is known to be an adventurous spirit. They have the ability to learn through trial and error, and their potential to become a wise and influential guide later in life. They're driven by a need to discover what works and what doesn't, often through direct experience. They learn best by experiencing firsthand rather than being told. And they're drawn to novelty, exploration, and trying new things. They can bounce back from setbacks and learn from their mistakes. I mean, Jana's a 3-6. Do you have anything to add to that would be helpful for her?
No, I think you said it beautifully. Yeah, I mean, we don't really like to follow the rules very much.
Yeah, because you're here to break them. I mean, not
A dash of this and a pinch of that and a
he's a 5-1,
oh.
but he's an emotional generator. So just back to the 5-1, they're not afraid to express unpopular truth. They have deep curiosity, drawn to explore new ideas and seek knowledge. They're revolutionaries, disruptors, they push for progress and change. They're problem solvers. They find creative solutions. They act as a bridge between different perspectives. One of the things to be aware of is the pressure or expectation to solve problems. It can be overwhelming, so it's helpful to set boundaries and communicate needs. And then they need to develop resilience to opposition, which is the heretical part, and stay true to their vision. They need to listen and trust their inner voice and intuition and not conform to external pressures and expectations.
Labels are fine for awareness, but it's when we hang on to them like, nothing can be changed. Even with human design, if we were to hang on to stuff and just be like, well, I'm a manifestor, I can't do that. Just silly.
Yeah, it's not for limitation. Like, it's not to tell you what you can and can't do. It's to tell you how you were designed to do things, but you get to choose.
And if it makes you feel any better, both of my kids are a 4-6 profile, and the only consequence that would work for Shaylee was separation from her friends. But that was much later in life. But I don't know that it was right. I'm just saying it was the only thing that worked at the time. So there's much grace in our parenting, and she's forgiven me now. So I think we're okay right now.